Okay, so the last topic of today is custom dashboards. And this is, again, something which is very, very useful. So we've seen a lot of clients requesting custom dashboards. Dashboards are a very good way to visualize and access information, whether it's structured or non-structured type of data. You can look at several demographics, performance statistics, talent-related, organizational-related KPIs and track it in your system. You can filter, you can slice and dice, you can drill down to the individual records. You can compare multiple dashboards side by side. There's a lot of functionality which is very useful for dashboards. Today, most of our clients, they are using employee and position dashboards. There are some extended dashboards, in case you do not know, again, subject to the licenses that you've acquired. Some of it are related to people analytics, something we call management share. So this is things like looking at percentage of women in management roles. There are 10-year demographics as well. There is recruitment dashboards, which looks at the demographics of people you've hired in the last 90 days. There are terminations, so looking at everyone that left the organization, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, we can track this in the dashboards, transfers, span of control, organization layers, and also some succession dashboards. So there are a lot of dashboards that are available, but we are never going to be able to have a pre-configuration that meets everyone's requirements and needs, because the needs are very different. They depend on the client, the industry, your own business processes, your own needs, etc. So many cases, you may want to create charts beyond the ones that are enabled in your configuration, whether it's out of the box or something we configured for you. You may always want to add new charts, new graphs based on new requirements that come in. Today, there are two things you can do. You can do this from the front end, directly as a user of the tool. You can add your own charts, or from the back end as an administrator, you can create these graphs and give access to everyone that needs access to it. Okay. So let's take an example. So I'm going to stick to the employee classes that I gave earlier. So let's say that the business requirement is we want to look at the different composition for my employee class. I want to see the total number of contractors, expatriates, consultants, regular employees. I want to see their average salaries. I want to see the total cost of the organization based on these employee classes. So if I know that, for example, I have the contractors are costing me 2 million per year or 10 million per year, and I'm looking for some reduction in force. I have a need to reduce the costs of the organization. Maybe I want to look at the contractors. Maybe we can hire them. It will be cheaper for us. There are some decisions and some insights that you can get by transforming the data that you have into information, and use this insights to take action on by leveraging the dashboards. Also, the business requirement is saying, can you break down the employee classes by pay grade? I want to see by pay grade, what are my different employee classes? What is the headcount, average salaries, etc. And the second business requirement is that we need a report that can help us analyze gender pay gaps by country for my key positions. So do we have a gender pay gap in Canada for my key positions? Are we paying, let's say, male employees much higher than female employees? You know, these are the things that you can think of with these types of reports. It's actually very easy to do this in Nakisa HR Suite, whether from the front end as a user of the tool or from the back end. So the solution to these two business requirements, I mean, the first one has 4 points. The second one is just the gender pay gap. But the solution is, if you look at it, we would need to create 3 charts. We need to create a chart for employee class. We need to create a chart for employee class by pay grade in order to look at the breakdown of employee classes by pay grade. And the third one, we would need to create a chart that shows me for all of the different countries, what is the breakdown by gender. And in order to focus on key positions, I need to filter by key positions. So let me show you this live, because it's easier to show it in the solution. So before I show it live, to create a chart, it's very straightforward. You can do this in the administrator console or the front end, as I mentioned before. From the admin console, you can just simply go to the org analytics. You can select the dashboard settings, and then you can say manage dashboard designer, And there you can start adding the different types of information that you have, that you need. Of course, for this to work, you need to have the data to support it. So you cannot add employee class if it's not available in the drop down if you want to add the field employee class. So you need to make sure that you configure the application to pull this data first. Once it's there, you can always create these KPIs and graphs on it. So let me go into the application and show you how you can create these dashboards. So I have a lot of things open here, so I'm going to start by collapsing these things that are open. When it comes to dashboards, as the name implies, it's part of analytics. So you would have to go to the Org Analytics settings. You would select Org Analytics, and then here you will see the section for my dashboards. We have other analytics as well, such as in-chart analytics. We have other analytics module that such as storyboard, icicle charts, employee timelines, etc. But what we're interested in is dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead here and I will open the dashboard designer. I'm selecting employee here because the requirement is to showcase the headcount, which is related to employees, to showcase average salaries, which is related to employees. So all of the operations are on employee type data. So I will go ahead and create a new one. So for the employee class, which is the first one, I can go ahead and simply create my my chart. You can use a pie chart or a bar chart, entirely up to you. It's only one field, which is employee class. So I'm just going to call it the employee class chart. Save. The field is already selected because it happened to be the top one, employee class. The operations I want to look at headcount. I want to look at average salaries. I want to look at salaries, total salaries, etc. So you can add multiple operations. And if you want to tag this as part of a focus area, like let's say organizational alignment, you can do that. So the tagging, I will show you in the front end how this looks, but you can go ahead and create it. So instead of creating one by one, because I think we don't have so much time, I'm going to create all three of them very quickly, and then we go into the front end and showcase how this looks like in the front end. So this is the first graph that we've created. Let's do another one. In this case, it will be a square chart, and the requirement is to show the pay grade by employee class. So I'm going to again do that. So I will select I will create a graph, which I will call pay grade by employee class. Again, you define the captions in the different languages if you have it enabled. Here I have field X, which is my X axis. This will be my pay grade. So I will select pay grade here. My Y axis will be my employee class field, which is the top one here. And the operations, again, I'm interested in the headcount. So the total number of employees who are contractors in that pay grade, who are apprentice in that pay grade, etc. I'm looking at average salaries. I'm looking at total salaries as well to see the total cost for the organization, for these employee classes, for these pay grades. I will tag this again as part of my org alignment, and I will create. And then the third, so I think if someone can just mute themselves, that'd be great. And then the last one, which is related to the gender pay gaps. Again, we want to look at the country and gender information for my key positions. So the best would probably be a square chart as well. And I will add it by doing the same concept. I will look at country, gender distribution. So this is my graph. It's called country by gender, and I will select the field that corresponds to this type of graph, this type of information. Here I'm going to look at gender. Of course, for this to work, you need to have some D and I information. You know, in this case, we only need gender, but if you want a graph by age, gender, ethnicity, nationality, you need to have this enabled in the solution. And in this case, I just want to look at average salaries for my different countries by gender. And I will tag this maybe as part of my D&I initiative, and I will create. So now I've created 3 graphs in the admin console. And these graphs will be available to all of the authorized users in Nakisa HR Suite. So now let's go to the front end very quickly, and we will showcase how this looks like. I'm going to hit F11. I'm just going to, sorry, F5 to refresh very quickly so that we have the dashboards refreshed and shown. And you can access the dashboards from the org chart because it's context-based. So if I have an org chart based on the sales organization, then it will open the dashboard for sales. If I have it for HR, it's going to open the dashboard for HR. But for now, I'm just going to open the global dashboard for the entire company, which shows me all this data here. And I will select, if you look at the drop-down menu, you will see all of them here added, the new ones which are added, such as employee class, such as pay grade by employee class. I'm just going to enable it so you can see how these look like. Okay, let's look at employee class first. I'm going to zoom in. You will see that we have most of the employees are active. That's 93%. There are very few ones which are apprentice, some contractors, etc. Okay. I can switch to operations to look at the average salary total cost. This is the total cost. Let me switch to average salaries. So you can see here that the average salary for my active employees probably are the highest. Contractors, which are shown here as well in, sorry, consultant showing in orange. You can see the color coding here, how these look like. And of course, you can always get the information in a table format so you can understand how this looks like. Okay, but this is a simple one. Let's look at something more complicated. Let's take a look at the pay grade employee class, which I just created. And this is, again, a very powerful dashboard, which shows me for my different employee classes on the y-axis here. So active, apprentice, consultant, contractor, expatriate, third party, and my different pay grades. And you can see the total headcount right now. So we have, for example, 14 consultants in salary grade 06. Of course, I can drill down to find who these people are. You can just simply click inside the graph and then drill down to exactly these 14 consultants in pay grade 6. You will get this information right away. But what I wanted to show you is if I reset the filters, that on the right-hand side, if I switch the operations to average salaries, you will see right away if the numbers are very high, the shading will be a little bit more deeper. So I can see, for example, for my consultants in salary grade 18, the total salary is relatively high, 1.92 million. So I know that this is something maybe I want to look at and try to maybe hire some of them internally to help reduce the costs for me as an organization. Okay, now just one last thing is the last requirement, which is to create a report for the gender pay gap by country. And this is what you see here on the screen. I know it looks very, very tiny because I have a lot of countries in my coming from SuccessFactors instance. You can see the gender, female, male, and also other. You can see the different countries here. Not the best way to see the information. So I would probably switch to a table view. And I will filter by key positions because the requirement is to filter this entire data set based on my key positions and only key positions. So here on the left-hand side, I will look for key position equal yes, and you will see the information dynamically changes on the fly based on the key positions. Okay. I can take this report, export it to Excel, and that's it. I met the requirement from the business. I now have a report generated with a few clicks based on my gender pay gaps by country, and I can, provide this to the leadership team or the business that required that report in the first place. It's also very useful because you can see if there's no female employees in key positions in a country like Czech Republic, you'll be able to see here a blank. So again, it can give you a lot of information just by looking at these types of graphs. Okay, if I want to focus on a specific division or department, I can also drill down to the specific division or department. So that's what I had planned for today. I think we've seen 3 different use cases to talk about custom charts, custom dashboards, and custom org chart display options. Just before we conclude the session, I wanted to get your feedback. I hope you found the content insightful. If you have any final questions or comments or suggestions, feel free to share them now. Again, you can type them on the chat. Otherwise, feel free to connect with myself or your dedicated account manager after the session if you would like to discuss some of these topics in in more detail. Okay. Also, please note that we will have the recording of this session as well as the presentation. I will send it to you after at the end, probably by this week or early next week. And you will also find all of the recordings to the office hours, user groups on our customer portal. So look at the customer portal for these recordings, and you can always refer to them at any time if you want to, if you feel courageous enough to apply some of these configurations on your own. So I'm just going to check the chat to see if there are any questions. Okay, no questions so far. So we have 2 minutes left, I think, which is perfect timing. Yeah, so I'd like to thank you all. So all our partners or our clients and customers, internal Nakisa colleagues who joined us virtually today. And I hope to see you all in our next office hours. And I look forward to serving you with more valuable content that you can use in your day-to-day work, and yeah, that can really help you with your job, whether you are an HR, a manager, or just simply an employee at the company. Okay, so thank you everyone, and I look forward to the next session.